to me, I don't know how that's not considered provocative. And for China to try to play victim, that's sort of their MO. Like they'll just play victim over something, and as a way to not look as we're not the aggressors, we're the victims here. But I shared with you how back in 2001 they had one of their pilots that forced one of ours out of the sky. It was a Navy surveillance jet, and one of the Chinese fighter jets came and literally bumped the wing. Ended up in a crash landing on one, and then the other had to make an emergency landing. Was met by Chinese soldiers with guns, taken to the barracks. So this idea that China's saying that the United States overreacted, I mean, that's what James Clapper's saying here. He's basically saying the exact same thing as the CCP. Not basically, he is. He's saying the same thing as the Communist Chinese Party is about this. No, it was a spy entity, a spy balloon, probably monitoring communication somehow. I mean, we don't know. I mean, well, and we may never know. It might be something that they look at the wreckage and maybe think that it's too top secret, and then they'll give all the documentation to Joe Biden for him to keep in his garage while his crackhead son passes out in his car. I don't know. Maybe that's what'll happen. But it does show. I think it's provocative. It could be interpreted as a provocation. And I do think that they were testing to see what the response would be. What would the response be? Now, there was this story that came out, and I don't know. I see some of the sources on it, and I'm just like, eh. But Mike Waltz had said that he was briefed by the Secretary of Defense that that it happened over Florida and Texas during the Trump administration. This is when I was telling you they came out. This was sort of like the weak defense that they had, I guess, to try to deflect from what happened here with Biden, because I just think Biden acted too late. Why did you wait? If they were worried about debris, why didn't you do it when it was over the Aleutian Islands? There was a pretty long segment there that it was over the Pacific and in U.S. waters, and they could have done it there instead of waiting for it to traverse the entire width of the United States and then not act until it basically got everything it needed and then take it out in South Carolina. That's just dumb. If they were worried about debris, they would have done it a hell of a lot sooner. It was a spy balloon, for the love. So they had to distract from that somehow. Oh, but Trump, though, there were 3 of these balloons. Well, then, in the CNN article that we talked about last hour, it showed that the explanation for that during the Trump administration was, well, we didn't know until after he left office. And we can't speak with clarity where they went, the balloons. Well, then, one of the revelations is that apparently Secretary of Defense at the time, Mattis, was of the belief that Trump was too aggressive and that they didn't, the Pentagon deliberately did not brief the president because they thought it would be too provocative. He would be too provocative and too aggressive if this take is true. And that is, and that's what they believed. But Mattis wasn't even in the military chain of command there at the time. So I don't know. That's just it's a weird story. Very weird story. No, sorry, the civilian airship came, not the spy balloon. Is that distinction with a difference or not?
Yeah, just identified as a civilian airship.
Like there's people on it. It's an unmanned civilian air. Oh, shut up. Stop saying civilian. It was your spy balloon, your spy plane. For James Clapper to say people are hyperventilating. There's no hyperventilating about it. It's just crazy that it took as long as it did. That they took so long. Again, if they were worried about debris, then that's when they should have shot it down over the Aleutian Islands. Shoot it down over there where you have to traverse the Pacific before you get back to touch the continental United States. It's so dumb. Like, I guess they think, oh, these people don't know geography. It's just wild. And they knew about it since it was in that area. That's how long they've known about it. They just didn't tell anybody. And it was broken. The story was broken by a photographer in Montana. Wrote about it in Billings, Montana. It's just insane. So that is the whole, I do think that, I think there's hyperventilating and I think there's also preparation. I don't know. It's just weird. There's a lot of, do you think this was significant? Do you think it was a provocation, Kane? Was this an intentional provocation, do you think?
No doubt. I think China knows how weak Biden is. Biden's been projecting weakness on the world stage since the beginning. And I think this is just China doing what China does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't, and I don't know how they could not have known. So what is it? They didn't know until after Trump left office, or Mattis didn't tell Trump because he thought he was going to be too aggressive and provocative?
Which one is better?
Which one is it? Pick a narrative. Is it that Mattis thought Trump was going to be they knew about it? That means they knew. They either knew or they didn't. Which I felt like they had to be real cagey with, well, we didn't know until after Trump left office, to protect themselves from being questioned as to why you didn't brief the president or Mark Esper, who was head of DOD at the time. Why wasn't that? So what's up? This is just a mess. It's a mess because some factions are trying to make Biden look tougher than he is and not weak. But it was Milley who apparently told Biden to not. Did Milley also say, hey, it's over the Aleutians, wait until it goes over across the entire United States before you shoot it down? Or maybe we should shoot it down before it actually touches flies over land in the U.S.